Welcome to Dear Fans. Ruthless Lawyer Mocks Widow in court. What she revealed next shocked the judge. Evelyn Carter stood frozen in the courtroom, gripping her late husband's battered briefcase tightly to her chest. Her palms were clammy, her heart racing, and every instinct screamed at her to back down, but she couldn't. Daniel wouldn't have wanted her to. Across the room, Marcus Holloway, a notorious lawyer famous for tearing his opponents apart with a smug grin and a sharp tongue, leaned back in his chair. No proof, he sneered, his voice dripping with scorn. Just another desperate widow trying to cling to something she doesn't deserve. For months, Evelyn had endured whispers, sleepless nights, and the crushing weight of doubt, but now with trembling hands and a heart full of resolve, she placed the briefcase on the judge's desk. "Your Honor," she said, her voice steady. "For the first time that day, I have evidence that will change everything." A gasp rippled through the silent courtroom. For the first time, Holloway's confident smirk faltered. From the quiet suburbs of Seattle to this pivotal moment, Evelyn's journey had been one of resilience, betrayal, and a widow's fight for truth. As she opened the briefcase and revealed an envelope hidden inside, the air in the room grew thick with anticipation. What lay inside had the power to shatter lies and expose a web of deception. Would it bring justice, or would it deepen the chaos? Evelyn never imagined she would end up in a courtroom like this, standing in front of strangers, her hands trembling as she clutched Daniel's old briefcase, the familiar scent of polished wood mixed with the low murmur of voices, but her focus was fixed on two men seated across the room. Victor Carter, Daniel's estranged brother, wore a smug expression, while Marcus Holloway exuded calm arrogance. Every fiber of Evelyn's being told her they thought they had already won. She tightened her grip on the case. It was her lifeline, and she couldn't fail Daniel now. The judge's voice cut through her thoughts, calling the room to order. "My client has been unfairly accused by Mrs. Carter, who seeks to benefit from a fraudulent claim. There's no evidence to support her case," Holloway declared, his gaze sharp and dismissive. The spectators murmured, and Evelyn felt her chest tighten, but she forced herself to breathe. The briefcase wasn't just filled with memories, it carried the truth. It had been 6 long months since Daniel's tragic accident on a rainy night that shattered her world. As she tried to piece her life back together, Victor emerged, contesting Daniel's will and accusing her of forgery. Evelyn was blindsided, thrust into a legal battle she never wanted, but she refused to back down. Daniel's was clear, it stated everything was hers, yet Victor's claims, fueled by Holloway's relentless attacks, chipped away at her confidence. The briefcase had sat untouched in the corner of her home for months, a painful reminder of Daniel. That is, until a stormy night, when Evelyn finally opened it. Inside, among blueprints and old letters, she found an envelope tucked into a hidden pocket. Her hands trembled as she unfolded the letter. Daniel's handwriting was unmistakable, his words filled with love and urgency detailed everything: Victor's debts, his schemes, evidence of betrayal. Daniel had feared this very scenario and left the proof Evelyn needed. The letter reignited her resolve. She wasn't just a widow trying to hold on, she was a woman fighting for justice. Now standing in court, Evelyn gathered every ounce of courage and stepped forward. "Your Honor," she said, her voice soft but resolute, "I have evidence that will expose the truth." The courtroom fell silent as she placed the envelope on the judge's desk. Holloway's confidence wavered for a split second, but his snare quickly returned. "This is absurd," he scoffed. "Just another baseless attempt to waste the court's time." The judge adjusted his glasses, examining the envelope with meticulous care. The tension in the room was palpable as he opened it. When the judge spoke, his voice was measured. "This document changes everything." A wave of whispers erupted in the courtroom, and Victor shot to his feet. "This is a lie," he shouted, his face flushed with anger. "She's making it all up." Holloway placed a hand on Victor's arm, urging him to sit, but even he couldn't maintain his composure. Evelyn stayed silent, her gaze unwavering. She had expected their denials and accusations. She would not be intimidated. As the court recessed, Evelyn stepped into the hallway, her heart pounding. Henry Blake, a retired lawyer who had been helping her, approached with a reassuring smile. "You did well in there," he said, his voice calm. "Daniel would be proud." She nodded, but her thoughts were racing. She had delivered the evidence, but she knew the fight wasn't over that night. Evelyn returned home to find the front door slightly ajar, her breath hitched. As she stepped inside, drawers were pulled open, papers scattered across the floor. Panic surged as she rushed to her bedroom. The closet door was ajar, and Daniel's briefcase, her lifeline, was gone. A creak from the back of the house froze her in place. Grabbing a heavy rolling pin from the kitchen, she crept toward the sound. "Who's there?" she called, her voice trembling but determined. A figure emerged from the shadows, a man in black, clutching the briefcase, their eyes locked for a tense moment before he bolted for the back door. "Stop!" Evelyn shouted, chasing him, but he was already gone, disappearing into the night with everything she had fought for. She sank to the floor, her hands trembling, tears streaming down her face. The police arrived 20 minutes later, but the damage was done. Whoever had taken the briefcase knew exactly what they were looking for. The next morning, Evelyn and Henry searched Daniel's workshop, the last place she hoped for answers. Dust covered every surface, the room untouched since his death. As she sifted through his tools, her fingers brushed against a locked cabinet. Inside, she found another envelope thick with documents Daniel had left. Backups, relief, and determination flooded through her. She still had a chance in court. She presented the new evidence, but Holloway was relentless. He introduced forged documents and hired a PR private investigator to discredit her. The trial became a battle of wits and willpower, with each small victory met by another challenge. Through it all, Evelyn clung to Daniel's letter. His words reminded her to stay strong, and Henry's unwavering support kept her grounded. Together they dismantled Holloway's lies one by one. Finally, after weeks of grueling testimony, the jury reached a verdict. Victor's face was ashen, his bravado shattered. Holloway sat motionless, his reputation in ruins. Justice had prevailed. Months later, Evelyn stood in her garden, Daniel's letter in her hand. The stars above seemed brighter, the air lighter. "Thank you, Daniel," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes, "for trusting me, for believing in me." The fight had been brutal, but she had honored his memory, and that was worth everything. As she looked up at the stars, Evelyn felt something she hadn't in months. Peace. The courtroom battles, the threats, and the betrayal had tested her in ways she never imagined, but they had also revealed a strength she had known she possessed. Daniel's love had always been her anchor, but now she realized it was her legacy to protect. She tucked the letter back into its envelope, placing it in her pocket. Life would never be the same, but that was okay. She had found herself in the struggle, and that was a victory no one could take away. Like this video and subscribe this channel. Thank you.